Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, and welcome to this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the GO satellite imagery, for today you can see a break here over the southeast coast. Showers mostly ending and some clearing. Also diminishing showers up along the North Gulf Coast here, but still kind of snowy up the valley at times today and back along the Alaska Range. Some of that in the Copper River Basin, and some light snows up into the Tanana Valley, say from Tanana up across the White Mountains, locally into the upper Yukon. And then farther to the north, circulation up there lifting northward, carrying some snow, light snow here, western Arctic coast, flurries extending off to the east, and some looks like northerly winds here, as you can see, bringing the colder air southward all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula. Some light snows going on there this afternoon. Higher pressure back out to the west ahead of this next big storm that'll be pushing in some gales to storms and eventually hurricane force wind warnings out for the southwest Bering Sea for tomorrow, possibly as late as or as early as late tonight, but through tomorrow or into tomorrow with gales and storm force winds pushing into the southwest Bering with that with some rain and snow. And then the next system down here developing, and that'll bring some gale force winds. That low center here expected to track northeastward to just right off the coast of Prince of Wales Island by tomorrow afternoon. And so if it takes that track, the heaviest wind and rain will be sliming the Queen Charlotte Islands, but you still should get some at least pretty good gales into the southern inside waters, Clarence Strait, and also over just about all the southern coast, and also back up to the northwest a little bit. But today pretty nice down in that area. And on the chart there's the low center now at about 998 millibars earlier today, and spreading the clouds up into the southern areas, clearing back to the west, diminishing showers on the coast, areas of snow over the southeast interior, and pretty cold, areas below zero here back to the west and northwest. So this Arctic ridge extending out of the Russian Far East across the northern Bering, pushing some colder air down, mostly into the west central interior and northward, and to a lesser extent here. Really never had the upward support to drive some really cold Arctic air southward, but it cooled it off enough for snow down to sea level in this area. Very weak trough there, just about washed out completely. The next system out to the west, you'll see tonight, pretty good low center, pretty intense, 957 millibars, lifts northward there across the far western Aleutians. And so we'll have storm force winds out ahead of the front tonight, and then storm force winds wrapping back in around will be pulling northward and eastward during the day tomorrow. Otherwise tonight, this what's left of this ridge axis here right along the coast, so winds continue light and skies variably cloudy to mostly clear here, and that's where the coldest temperatures will be, where you get the light winds and clear skies. A few lingering snow showers here along the Alaska Range on up into the central interior valleys, but nothing significant at all. And then some snow showers continuing here across areas of the Kenai Peninsula from Kodiak Island, where they'll be pretty scattered, on up into Prince William Sound, locally into the Copper River Basin, kind of an unsettled pattern there. And then this storm swinging a front up into the southeast coast late tonight by about 3 a.m., roughly that position. And the low center back here will continue up to the northeast. And so kind of a rain and snow to rain situation going on over the southern areas, but the northern part should stay mostly dry, or will stay dry through tonight. Just an increase in the clouds, and partial clearing possibly north of the Alaska Range, and high pressure up over the Noatak Valley, actually over the Chukchi Sea here, or Kotzebue, Seward Peninsula. Light winds, variable clouds there, and a few flurries on the eastern Arctic coast with patchy fog elsewhere. And for Tuesday, that high slips up to the northeast a little bit there over the western north slope. On the east and southeast side of that, some clouds and very light snow extending southeastward, and areas of flurries and snow showers, quite light again over the eastern interior. This storm pulls up to about where we thought it was going to yesterday, right off the coast there. And again, so the strongest winds will be down across the Queen Charlotte Islands. It's still some good gales, gusts 60 miles an hour across the strait there up into the southern inside waters. Gale force northwesterlies, at least for a short time, following in behind. But the farther north you go, winds diminish quite a bit. And gales will extend up partway up the coast tomorrow, but much lighter winds here along the North Gulf Coast. And then turning northwest, could get a little brisk at times with the Barren Islands and Kodiak Island early on, and then those will be diminishing in the afternoon as high pressure ridge now in across Bristol Bay for light variable winds there, especially tomorrow morning, up across the southwest interior. Dry conditions, offshore flow will keep the marginal stuff out to sea, and just some scattered snow showers here along the southern Alaska Range down toward Iliamna, and this front now pushing eastward, bringing gale force winds and rain in across the eastern Aleutians, and possible storm force winds may get to the Pribilof Islands, definitely back to the northwest here, and then with this low center pulling northward, southwest winds of 65 knots in the forecast throughout the day tomorrow. And then for Wednesday, that whole thing, a strong jet elongates us out to the east with a new center forming and moving to southern Kodiak Island or the southwest coast by Wednesday afternoon. Rain and snow changing to rain here, but not really a big push of warm air coming up with this. So whatever moisture lifts into southern Alaska and southwest Alaska should be in the form of snow. And of course along the front, mostly snow. And then this is the leading edge of some colder air, which will bring the snow levels back down to sea level on the west-southwest winds that are pushing that along. Otherwise, the southeast coast, a much better day coming up behind the storm late tomorrow night, and on Wednesday there just some snow showers, especially over the southern areas, kind of rain or snow showers, and diminishing back to the north. Looks dry for Lynn Canal, Juneau, on up to Skagway and Haines. And hit and miss snow showers mostly off the coast, but nice day, Copper River Basin up into the Tanana Valley. Still some snow chances here in the eastern Arctic coast extending down to possibly Eagle, and then east to west flow offshore, chilly and dry with winds not too strong, but beginning to increase again, 30 to 35 knots here for the northern Bering Sea, or for gales in advance of this front. And then definitely brisk wind advisories or small craft advisories up on into the strait area there. And still looking at storm force winds possibly here, 50 knots at times there over the western Aleutians, otherwise 25 to 35 knot winds elsewhere. For the temperatures today, over the southeast coast, upper 30s to mid 40s with 43 at Yakutat, 34 at Valdez today, and they picked up about 37 hundredths of an inch of rain in the, or actually 9 hundredths of an inch. It was, Cordova had 37 hundredths. Only 6 degrees today at Gulkana, but 29 up at Talkeetna, 34 in Homeworth, 28 in Kenai, 7 below at Fairbanks. And heading out west, lower 30s here for the Pribilofs, 36 on Alaska, and upper 20s to near 30 here, a little cooler over the Alaska Peninsula. Upper 30s for the central Aleutians, and 36 out at Shimia, 16 in King Salmon today, and a 0 at, let's see, that's McGrath, and 9 degrees over at Hooper Bay, 12 at Macoriac. Nome had -8 this afternoon with -7 in Fairbanks, 13 below at Fort Yukon. They had the state's low of -20 this morning, while Temperatures either side of zero up along the Arctic coast here, ranging from -3, Kaktovik, to 4 above at Wainwright. Same thing here at Kotzebue, 1 degree at Shishmaref, and there we go, lows for tonight in the 15 to 20 degree below zero range here. Coldest areas right up here in the western North Slope, and you can see the 0 degree isotherm right from the Tanana Valley here down southwest to just south of Bethel, and 9 degrees, that's for Pilot Point. Teens and 20s, south central Alaska, and 30s for the Panhandle, upper 20s for the Pribilof Islands, and 30s for the Aleutians. Highs tomorrow, upper 30s to 40s out over the western Aleutians, and well below zero for the highs here over the northwest, especially the North Slope areas, back on down in across the Koyukuk, or the Kobuk, into the lower Koyukuk Valley, and all of the Seward Peninsula into the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta areas as well. But mid-20s, mid to upper 20s, south central Alaska, and lower to mid-30s along the coast, even milder for the Panhandle. Tomorrow's flying weather looks like the storm coming up, IFR slipping into the southern southeast coast there, but VFR up to the north, and then this leftover moisture here could produce an area of IFR from the Copper River Basin, eastern Alaska Range, right on up to the eastern Arctic coast, breaking out to just some marginal VFR locally in a swath right through there with VFR Kodiak Island, and then the IFR conditions pushing in with a front across the Fox Islands, eventually reaching the Alaska Peninsula and the Pribilofs, but hit and miss, not too bad, at least for VFR or for flying ceilings and visibility wise, but it'll be pretty turbulent out there over the Aleutians. And for the passes, Anatuvik, occasionally IFR on either approach, that same forecast for Adigan. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, look for VFR. Rainy, marginal, becoming VFR. And for windy, starting out low and then trending upward to VFR throughout the day. Isabel, IFR at times, mostly marginal VFR in the afternoon. Mentasta, occasionally marginal. Tanita, marginal, becoming VFR. And for Portage, IFR to start with here, especially on the east side, but then winds swing around to the west, and that should become VFR on the eastern entrance, while the west entrance, that west node will tend to hold it in the marginal condition zone through the afternoon. For Chilkoot and White, both passes there, VFR. And the freezing levels, a little bit of a nudge northward of some warmer air with that system, but again, the main push will be on into the east there, so maybe 2,000 feet lifting up along the southeast coast. The surface here, right along the coastline for early tomorrow morning, and then those southeast winds pulling some warmer air back to the west and northwest. Could see 4,000 feet slip on up into the southern Bering Sea, and the surface, again, this about early tomorrow morning, late tonight, right near the Pribilofs. For icing threats, from west to east, this will move. Should be about this position tomorrow afternoon, with possible occasional widespread moderate rime icing slipping into the eastern Aleutians over toward Falls Pass, Cape Sarachev area, and then back to the west north of the Aleutians. Leftover moisture up here could produce just a risk of some icing, and then over the southern southeast coast with that storm, nothing up to the north and nothing across southern Alaska or the Bering Sea. Winds aloft, showing the main jet here well to the south, still sneaking up but not quite reaching the eastern Aleutians. And this trough moving through tomorrow with the associated with the storm that's rolling into the southern Panhandle there. That'll be pushing off mostly to the east, again taking the strongest winds to the south of the area, with ridging back here to the west, this trough slowly edging its way outward, and then more storminess farther out to the west. 9,000 feet tomorrow, pretty strong winds here, 50 to 70 knots, cutting right across the Aleutians, but the strongest winds will be up here over the northern Bering Sea, and then lightening up under high pressure St. Lawrence Island in the Strait, and then those strong west-northwest or west-southwest 40 to 50 knots on the other side of the front there with the main low center. Pretty strong winds in a small area there, a rather tight system for the southeast coast, and at 3,000 feet you can see the 70-knot winds down across the Queen Charlotte Islands, but still should see some south 50-knot winds at 3,000 feet right into those southern entrances there, and much lighter up to the north. Really light here over the interior, both at 3 and 9,000 feet, and light all the way up to the Arctic coast, the northern Bering, and then the strong winds here over the southeast Bering heading eastward. For turbulence, possible severe here with the southern panhandle, maybe moderate chop extending up to about that location, and then smooth through the North Gulf Coast, relatively speaking smooth all the way up to the Arctic coast, and then the turbulence with the winds with that front coming in. But the severe stuff will be from about the Pribilofs back to the northwest, and then the more severe turbulence possible here on with the main low center and the tight pressure field associated with it. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. Thanks to Alaska Public Media, KAKM, and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health for allowing me to bring you Hangar Flying. We are continuing our series of shows with experts from Learn to Return training systems here in Anchorage. This evening, we are excited to have Destin Snider with us. Destin is an instructor at Learn to Return and teaches aviation land crash survival, helicopter underwater egress, Arctic and cold weather survival, marine offshore vessel abandonment, and wilderness remote first aid, among many other classes. Wow. Welcome, Destin.
Thank you, Mary.
Last time on Hangar Flying, we talked about training for surviving an aircraft crash on land. What type of training would be available at Learn to Return for people that would like to practice escaping from an aircraft that's underwater?
Well, thank you, yes. For the last 30 years or so, LTR Training Systems has been offering 2 specifically designed courses for underwater egress from an airframe. One is based on a fixed wing principle, and the other is based on a rotor wing.
What types of people might take either one of these trainings?
Anybody that flies over water, really. When you look at the statistics of planes that crash into water, near shore, offshore, there's even a report of a plane that went down in a cattle tank in the middle of Texas, the only water source for thousands of miles or hundreds of miles. You know, anybody that has the chance of impacting water in a plane should take this course.
Wow. So would it be for pilots and passengers?
Absolutely, yeah. Traditionally, it's a corporate course where companies like BP, Shell, Conoco, Hillcorp, they send their employees to us to be trained in this because they care about their safety, and they have their employees flying over water on a regular basis. However, last year we actually certified an 8-year-old boy. It was the son of a family that flies regularly to their cabin.
Okay, so individuals can sign up for the training as well. They don't have to be an employee of any certain agency or corporation.
Absolutely, yeah. We list all of our courses on our calendar on our website at survivaltraining.com.
Very good. One of the objectives of your training is to be able to select additional equipment to augment personal survival kits,
Yes.
To fit an individual's need. Can you give us some examples of what types of things this might include?
Absolutely. You know, we don't think about it when we're flying, but we think about it when we're in boats. But flotation devices are definitely important because we don't float very well, and especially in the temperature of water that we're looking at up here in Alaska. So some sort of flotation is definitely a key idea. When you look at, you know, if you are at an increased chance of impacting the water, then you're probably going to want to look at some sort of survival suit as well. I also definitely recommend compressed air bottles for pilots, not because it's going to allow the pilot more time to get himself out, but it'll allow the pilot more time to get his family members out, should that be the case.
And would this be something that pilots would take the training from you on how to use that, and they could bring their families along as well to practice?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the courses we offer.
Okay. So what are some important things to think about and prepare for when an aircraft is underwater versus when it's on land?
And I'm glad you asked me that, because there's one thing that's really important, even when you look at commercial airline travel, is the seatbelt. How does the seatbelt operate? Did you know that there is no federal regulation on which way a seatbelt has to release from, either left or right?
Oh, interesting.
Next time you go to take a flight on Alaska Airlines or Delta or whoever, take a look down the roads as you board the plane, and you'll see they'll have a left-hand release, a right-hand release. It's whatever they had available at the time. So being familiar with your seatbelt is definitely the first priority.
good advice. The class, I would imagine, provokes a lot of anxiety about going underwater, being trapped. Can you tell us how you help students get over this anxiety and how they would use that for a real emergency?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very unique population up here in Alaska of individuals that don't necessarily like getting in the water. They've grown up around cold water and they know we don't get in the water up here. So some people even have a hard time with swimming. However, we have one of the highest success rates in the industry, and that's because we instill confidence by allowing students to build up to the actual immersion in the simulator. We have kind of a crawl, walk, run mentality when we look at our training. We give each student goggles to start the training so that they can see underwater. We have lots of different training aids that are available to us that I think only LTR uses. And we spend a lot of time building up that confidence because that's really why we're here. We don't do this for money. We don't do this for fame. We do this because we believe in giving people the added skills and knowledge that does save lives, and we've gotten thank you letters to prove it.
Great. It sounds like a proven theory.
Yes, yes.
Seems to be working.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Dustin. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Mary.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. If you aren't doing much flying this winter, please take the time and update your own personal survival kit. Until next time, fly safely and be the one that comes home.
Welcome back. Well, if that storm center goes where it's supposed to, we should just see gale force winds here over the southern part of the panhandle there with the storm force stuff down across the Queen Charlottes. Lighter winds up to the north. Still can see 30 knots there due to the pressure falls to the south through Lincoln Island Glacier Bay. For Wednesday, lighter winds in store for all areas here from the west-southwest, 10 to 20 along the coast and 15 to maybe 20 knots over the inside waters. For Cook Inlet, northeast at 20, swinging around to the northwest, 30 knots there, Kamishak Bay out into the Barren Islands, and then coming down in the afternoon, all of these areas with northeast 20 for Prince William Sound. And then on Wednesday, looks like some gale force winds, another front swinging up. The one coming rapidly across from the west there will be rotating northwards. I'll bring some gale force winds in late tomorrow night for Kodiak Island down in this zone, and then behind the front, those will drop back to 20 knots. Kind of a gradient here, 25 to 35 knot winds possible from the northeast through Shelikof Strait, and lighter winds up Cook Inlet, lighter winds for Prince William Sound, and for the North Gulf Coast, east to southeast at 20 to 25. For the Bristol Bay zone, northeast at 20 tomorrow, southwest of Kodiak Island, these winds coming down to 15 knots, and Bristol Bay starting out probably light and variable, and then increasing to northeast 20 with 40 to 45 knot gales or gale force winds coming into the Alaska Peninsula. For Wednesday, behind the fronts, 15 to 20 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula. Could see 35 knot winds there for the water southwest of Kodiak Island, but northeast or east-northeast at about 20 there for Bristol Bay. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, gales to minimum storm force winds as that front rotates into that area with good gales, good southwest gales here in behind, and then those become storm force. West of, say, Amchitka Island on out to Shimia with the hurricane force wind warnings out in this area tomorrow. Then those storms probably hold with that low center staying back to the west and northwest of the area there with gale force winds of 30 to 35 knots from the southwest. All areas, but still a little southerly here across down Alaska in the 30 to 35 knot range. For the southwest coast, southeast winds there, southeast of Nunivak Island at about 25 knots, and easterlies at 30, storms for the northern Bering Sea, and storm force southeasterlies definitely possible here for a short period in a narrow band ahead of that front for the Pribilof Islands. Definitely, for sure, gale force winds will arrive. And for the northern Bering Sea, northeast, 30 knots for St. Lawrence Island, easterly gales for the northern Bering, and then lighter winds down to the south, just 15 knots to 20 knots for the Pribilofs. Arctic coast, light winds everywhere, kind of a west-southwest direction here, the western areas to all the way to the east, and then a little more northerly, but quite light, could almost just call it light and variable winds there for the western zones. And then on Tuesday, variable at 5 there, Kotzebue Sound, and to the west here at about 10, but light southwest winds the entire stretch of the coastline there, even all the way to Kaktovik. And for tonight again, here's that next storm lifting northward, bringing the heavy wind and rain back into the southern southeast coast. Gale winds 50 miles an hour or above 50 miles an hour in gusts entering the southern areas here with precipitation pushing northward. Lingering snow showers here over south central Alaska or areas of could reach Kodiak Island, extend up across Prince William Sound into the Copper River Basin, and then mostly right through here, clouds and flurries, but nothing significant. High pressure, light winds, chilly temperatures, again down to possibly 30 below here on the western north slope. And that next storm bringing wind and rain and snow into the Aleutians, with the hurricane force wind warning out late tonight through tomorrow there for the southwest Bering Sea. Storm warnings for the western Aleutians and in a band ahead of this front as it comes eastward, but probably won't be storms into the Fox Islands. And then behind that, some good strong gales west-southwesterlies. That's going to drive another cold front eastward, and snow levels should crash down to about sea level, especially over the western areas here with those southwest winds gusting to 60 miles per hour across Shimei and Attu, and 50 or 40 to 50 miles per hour across the central Aleutians. The main front here pushing rapidly eastward with rain and snow lifting northward to Kodiak Island. Gale force easterlies in advance of that front. Otherwise fair over the interior. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.